All wins are good wins, and look, I get it. Sometimes people don't understand the whole full scale of what we knew we were entering into. I mean, this team had it to 1 at Xavier and, had a chance to win the game. And they've had some really good wins. They play physical. They know their identity. They're old. All those guys came back. And you know what? Today, for 20 minutes for sure, they were the more aggressive team and played harder, competed harder. And usually the longer you're around the game, the luck always goes to the aggressor. And so they're hitting some late shot clock plays. I mean, they're turning around, hitting jumpers, banked one in. But look, they're flying around. They got us out of what we're doing. They're killing us on the glass, and somehow or another we were only down 7. Felt like we should have been down about 15. But give credit to our guys. I thought at halftime, we had a good direct conversation, and we made a couple of adjustments in our post defense. We switched the matchup, and we tried to go to a few more pressure releases, knowing that, hey, we're going to have to beat these guys off the dribble a little bit. We just did a horrible job getting in our offense, which is by design what they do, right? They're going to press you up and down the court, and then they're going to try to deny you every out. I thought we could cut them, but they did a pretty good job on most of our cuts, and we ended up just having to open it up and play out of some ball screens. And fortunately, Coop had another huge game, and he played 24 minutes and he was plus 19. So, I probably should have thrown him out there a couple more minutes, but he got in foul trouble, and we didn't know right there at that juncture in the first half. I'm usually a pretty big believer in playing guys with 2 fouls in the first half. But I also knew the assignment he had with guarding, an unbelievable post player, and I didn't want to pick up that third one as long as the game margin was in reach. And then all of a sudden we just had 2, and you know what? It ended up being the right decision because he got a 4th on a very interesting call, but he picked up his 4th with probably 8 minutes to go. And so had he picked up one in the first half, that would have really put us in a bad situation. And we pulled him out. Just to and it was like, hey, under 5, we got to put him back in, and I thought he was a huge factor for us. We made some critical plays late. Tom House, continues to make some plays in the stretch. I thought Ed had a huge day. Just to be a redshirt freshman and with PJ being out, for him to have to come out there and handle the ball that much and make some shots, make some plays. I thought he did great. And Davis steps up, makes the big free throws. Nick makes the big free throws, and it's what we talked about at the 3-minute timeout. Like, hey, listen. This hasn't been our best day, but it's winning time now. This thing's all set at 0. Go make more plays than them in the last 3 minutes and just get out here with a win. And you just need a hyphen to the left side, and if you get it, you celebrate the heck out of it and you enjoy it. And they're not going to be any, that's a good win. You're going to see that's going to be they kept their whole team together. They play that's as hard as anybody's played against us all year. And Eric's done a phenomenal job with that group. And they're going to win a lot of games.
Coach, people are going to really remember Cooper Bowser's dunk on start the second half. But I thought a key moment came in the second half when you put it back in with 4 fouls, with 4:40 left, you're down by 5. And right before timeout, it's 4 free throws and for 1. I think on the other end, Cooper had played really solid defense, forced a really tough shot around the basket that they missed. And I think maybe somebody got the rebound for you guys. He played good defense without picking up that. But I mean, they went straight at him when he went back in. Played good defense without taking that 5th foul. For a young guy like that to be able to do that, and he can speak to his progress there.
Yeah, I mean, the skill of verticality and walling up, that's something that sounds easy in theory, but it's hard when the game's going fast and you're guarding a pro. I mean, that's as good of a post player as we played besides Dickinson. I told their staff before our game that the growth that he's had from this year to last year, whatever they've done with him, it's an incredible what he's been able to do growth-wise. And they were forcing it into him, and I knew we were going to give up some size. I'm not sure what the tendency was, but I think everybody in the arena knew we only had one guy that could guard him. And fortunately, he was able to figure out a way to stay in there. And a lot of times, look, those refs, they're looking, they're trained. They can't. You're not always going to be able to see the contact. It's super physical down there. Your hands all the way up or they come down. And the discipline of keeping your hands and reaching for the lights, I thought he did a pretty good job of that. And he's long. It's a 7'5" wingspan. then we just had to board it, I mean, we just had to board it. And I'll have to watch those on film. We ended up winning the glass somehow. I thought that was a mistake. But, Ben pulls down 9 rebounds. Davis gets 5. And, but yeah, Coop was definitely the MVP of the game, offensively and defensively. I mean, gives us an ability to protect the basket, that's unique. And he's only getting better and better at it.
I want to talk about, you mentioned Ben with the 9 rebounds, but I thought the one offensive rebound that really changed the game was when he got the ball, and it was offensive rebound, got it back out the house, he got fouled on the 3. I thought that was a momentum-changing type play, and that's the kind of the type of plays he's been making. Can you just talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think in sport we throw around the word winner pretty easily. But he's the definition of a winner, and he just does winning things. He understands what goes into winning, and his leadership this year has propelled us in a lot of those moments. This team has allowed him to have a bigger voice, and this team has also embraced and understood his value. 2 teams ago understood his value, right? And he's a guy where you can't always make sense of it. But you just look at the box score, and, we only had, we had 3 starters plus tonight. Nick was +2, Coop's +19, and Ben's +7. He figures out a way to just make those plays. And, 3 offensive rebounds. He drew 5 fouls. He only fouled once. He had 3 assists. He only turned the ball over 1 time. And so he's got 25% of our assists. He leads us in rebounding, right? He's +7, and it's like, hey, you can talk about all the flaws, and really it's just the one big one, right? Like, oh, can he make shots? Ben can make shots. He took that corner 3 tonight. I thought it was in, Ben's in his own head there, right? And the more he continues to just embrace who he is, I think that's what he's done a great job of these last couple games. It's just probably the last 3 of just saying, hey, you know what? Ben Vanderwall is this. Coop affects the game without making threes, right? I mean, we played Kansas and got boat raced, and they had 2 guys out there that couldn't shoot either. One of them had 24 on us. Okay, the point guard, Harris can't shoot. He's not somebody you're just going to say, hey, man, that guy, but he impacted that game. And so sometimes in this world of, everything's based on the 3, you lose a little bit of, the value of a Cooper Bowser, the value of a Ben Vanderwall, ball players, right? That just affect winning. And I think he's somebody that the more he just embraces that, and it's the 2nd game in a row we've moved him to the 4, just out of necessity and out of, trying to get 3 handlers out there. But he's just somebody in those critical moments you want him out there on the court.
What can you tell us about PJ's condition? And also I was wondering about, for the rough areas that you had, weaknesses, Chuck would have come in handy. What's the situation with him?
Yeah, Chuck's really just maintenance, without getting into all the details of it. His knee's going to be something we just have to have maintenance on all year. And we looked at this window as an opportunity to just do some maintenance work on it, just to drain it, just to, get some gel in there and see if we can get him, it's a little bit long-term greedy, right? Can we get him feeling a little bit better for conference play to where he can practice and, be in the rotation a little bit more consistently instead of right now he's really just playing games. And so as soon as we got done with the last game on Princeton, we went in there Monday, and then he's going to miss today, and then he'll miss Wednesday as well. The goal is to have him back for Harvard. PJ, I don't have all the information on that yet. It's something with his shoulder that could be minor, could be major, and again, the play, weird play. I had a pretty good view up on the jumbotron of it, but obviously I guess I had a little bias on that. But he literally, his shoulder came out. Right, the shoulder dislocated.
I was looking
okay.
At the camera straight at him. He took quite a shot.
Yeah, the shoulder came out. Yeah. Okay, so your shoulder just don't pop out by just whatever. Anyway, he dislocated it. It went back in easy, which is usually a good sign. They got to go do some imaging and just make sure to see kind of what the damage was on the dislocation, and we won't know that for a couple days.
Coach, everything seems to happen for a reason. That's what I'm saying. But you had a gut check last time when you lost PJ with 150 to go. And this time you lose with 30 minutes to go. But you got a guy. Can you just speak to the job that Edric Bronson did, especially in the second half? I thought get a couple of big threes for you and come back. You speak to this game tonight.
Yeah, I mean, they asked me that before the game. Like, everybody wants to talk about the difference between this year's team and last year's team. Part of it, like, give last year's team a little grace. I mean, we had a dang draft pick that we lost. And then, oh, by the way, we also had this guy named Mike Bothwell that, was a 3-time All-League guy. And last year's team won 17 games. But you know what? Like, this group has also learned a lot from last year's group. And we didn't feel like we had the connection and the chemistry and the care for one another, that we need to have to be a great team. And we were a talented team, but we weren't really a connected team. And in this team, they started working on that, in the summer and really making sure that there was a oneness to what they do. And you hear all the time in sports, like, well, we want to be connected, but, like, why do you want to be, like, what's the value in it, right? We all know that, like, that's the sauce, right? Like, if you can get a group that's connected, you're going to win some games. Why? What's the true value of it? Well, there creates a calmness when you go through adversity, that you're not fragile. You don't kind of pull apart and kind of go into silos. Like, you come together. And this team has constantly done that. And we talked about it in pregame today. I knew this was going to be a hard game. We're sitting in the middle of finals. Are you kidding me? I mean, I was an assistant. I think our third year, we started a tournament, and we were playing pretty well. And Garnet Webb came into Timmons and beat us by 20. Like, this is a hard date. And we weren't going to make any excuses on that. But, like, we knew this was going to be a fight. And we talked about it before in pregame of just this idea. I gave him a story Lou Holtz tells, where when he was in college, he went home for the summer, and they went to swim the Ohio River, and it was about a mile swim. And they got one guy that doesn't want to do it because he doesn't think he can make it. And he says, hey, look, if you don't make it and you start drowning, I'll save you. And they get about 3/4 of the way done with the river, and the guy starts panicking. He says he's drowning. So Lou said he did the only thing that could help him out. He let him to drown, basically, because he knew he had to just go figure it out. Well, the guy turns around and starts going back to the shore where he came from. Well, he ends up swimming 1.5 miles. He only had 25% left. But a lot of times in life, that's what we do, right? Like, bad stuff happens and it gets really hard, and you just return. Like, you just go back. You're like, oh, well, this isn't working. Let me go back. And then you end up looking up and you're like, man, damn, I just swam a whole lot further than I needed to. Instead of just kind of finishing the thing out. And we literally talked about that in pregame, and when we got to halftime, I said, don't quit swimming. Like, just keep going, right? And sometimes that's the best thing these kids can learn. Like, they're going to go through hard things. They're going to go through stuff way harder than this. Hey, you're going to get in the water, and it's going to feel like it's getting you. Just go finish. Don't turn around. And I thought our group, in moments that we keep having, that's the game of basketball. Like, you're defined on how you handle adverse situations. And so when PJ went out, there was no talk of, like, what are we going to do? Like, there's a trust factor, there's a care factor that says, hey, we all got to step up. And I think that's what you saw. I mean, not only did PJ step out, I mean, we go 4 for 17 from 3. I didn't know Furman could win a game going 4 for 17 from 3 and still, like, last game 29%, this game 23%. Hopefully that's not a trend that keeps going, but this group is finding ways to win. And, it was definitely ugly tonight, but we did what we had to do to win in that second half.
Coach, they came out, and I thought, like you said, really established who they were and had an identity and defended you physically and really pressed hard. And I thought the adjustments there in the first segment of the second half were key in the way things went and the way that we handled pressure. What adjustments were made at halftime to kind of make the team more composed in those moments?
Well, we tried. I mean, I'm pretty stubborn, so even when people try to press us and pressure us, I still try to stay in our flow. And they were trying to get us out of some of our flow concepts, and finally I kind of just conceded and went to some more ball screen actions, more spacing actions. And look, like, I'm not going to get on a rampage about it. Let's make sure we're not right. And this was just Furman was awful and found a way to win. I mean, at the end of the day, we shot 51% from the floor, and they shot 38.